And we are back with part two of Ram Gopal Varma's interview with Baradwaj Rangan. The part one was amazing. If you haven't seen, check it out here. I'll put it. And it was so much, it was so good. So many, things about how the industry is working, the pan India, phenomena, the big budget films not working, the star system in India versus, Hollywood, and like amazing interview. Definitely check it out. Now, let's check out part two. If you haven't seen the original, I'll put the link to it in the description on Galata Plus channel. Definitely check it out there. There's a reaction. There's not a substitute for it. I'll be pausing the middle talking. So if you want to watch the full thing, go check it out there, and then you can watch this for my thoughts and react. So without any delay, let's get into it.
Tamil director Hari, who did Singham and all those films, he said that he kind of wished that kind of what you said, which is that the bigger stars should do more films so that bring in more people to the theaters more frequently. Earlier, the big stars used to do 3-4 films a year. Now they're doing one film in 2 years or something like that because everything is a mega production.
I disagree with that because see, to start with, no one works for the sake of the industry.
Right.
They work for the sake of themselves.
Yeah.
What's in it for them?
Very good point.
So star typically is going to anyway. Star doesn't need to act. He's got enough ways of earning
Okay, saying something else. I thought something else.
money, and he's going to be remunerated enough for a long project,
Brand deals
or
and
whatever,
this and that, yeah.
in every which way. And then they have to protect the market because if one film with a big star, you're pitching it at to sell it for 500 crores, then he makes a smaller film for 50 crores. It will confuse the market. Also, there's one more problem there, And the only way to do that is not to sell it, which is what Amit does. See, if you are selling it and the buyer is going to overvalue the project because of the hero's background and whatever is coming, or either marketing capacity, there will be so many of those factors. And the picture doesn't deliver. Yes, his brand takes a hit. But nobody really thinks the film is going to be bad when he makes it. You will wish for it. And you will have some relevant examples. So a big star wanting to do more films, that won't happen. And I'm very convinced about it. Even Hollywood didn't happen.
Okay.
Right. No, but Hollywood, they always finish, spaced out their films pretty regularly.
No, I am saying, but they're going basically because nobody is waiting only for the stars' films in Hollywood. That is where they reached. That's what I'm trying to say. If you remember the last 10 films you watched, I'm sure the star was never the point. Who's there in it is not the point.
In Hollywood.
Even when you watch here in India, a Hollywood film, like we used to look at Stallone and all that, we don't say look at any star. I don't even know them.
Yeah.
Fast and Furious doesn't make a difference to me who's there in that.
Yeah, because the movie is the thing.
Yeah, movie is the brand.
Right.
Yeah.
And why do you think we have not reached there?
I think it's because again in the market, in terms of the kind of a throw, like the so-called mass belts and all that, the kind of films also what we make, the highly melodramatic.
I think because still today there are films that get rewarded because they have stars, and that just brings back the notion, you need a star in a film, because there have been films with not big stars with great concept, but those films didn't work. So I think until becomes kind of, it's not always the thing. Maybe without stars also, like 12th Fail, biggest example. Without any big star, the film worked. I think, but those things has to happen more. Like more films without stars need to work, and more films with with a star but not a great story need not work. And that will set a precedence. Oh, stars are not needed. You need to get a good story. And once that is established, I think then we'll see the change happening.
Dialogue and pitching and heroism and all that is what the audience seem to cater to, and obviously the market will cater to that.
Right.
That is what they want.
Yeah.
And now, do we have the capacity to make a film called Inception? I don't think so. Do you have the capacity to make an Oppenheimer? I don't think so.
Capacity meaning intellectual capacity or financial capacity?
Intellectual.
Okay.
There's no financial capacity. Financial capacity is the same.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the point is, now my question, an Oppenheimer does a 100 crore above business in India.
In India, yeah.
Where 70% of it, they talk science.
Yeah.
No one knows even what and the most important incident you would think will happen, the bombing of Hiroshima, is not even there.
Yeah.
Audience's intelligence is there. But the fear of the makers is that they are not intelligent enough. We are assuming them to be dumb. Indian filmmakers assume the audience to be dumb Hollywood filmmakers, they assume them to be intelligent. That is a fundamental difference.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
you're
I can understand still Oppenheimer working in America.
right.
Why will it work in India?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're saying
Brand of Nolan, because it is an experience. The thing is that even if there's so much science, right, the way the film is paced, like the way it's edited together, like constantly something is happening. Oh my god, you're building up, you're building up, you're building up. Oh, this happened, that happened, and you're seeing the future. Oh, he's being taken down, and like constantly things are happening. It doesn't give you time to what am I watching, what they're talking. I don't care. No, don't know what they're talking, but you know what's gonna happen. Like, oh, they have to build a bomb. Now what will happen? Now what will happen? So that keeps you engaged, and it's a brand of Nolan. Everyone's talking about it. My theory is, a film has a hype. You want to be involved in those discussions. If you like it or dislike it, that's a separate thing. Like, when your friends are sitting together, it's a Nolan film. Everyone talks about a Nolan film. Yeah, on online social media, everyone talks about it when it comes out. That the hype his films has, and then the whole Barbenheimer thing made it to the next level. But when you're sitting in a group and you have not seen it and everyone's talking about it, yeah, I want to also watch it. FOMO, fear of missing out. you know I also want to have an opinion. On social media, everyone's talking about, the memes are coming out. I don't know what they're talking about. I also want to watch the film. I think if a film cracks that, right, then people will come and watch the film. But that has to, that has to be created, right? The film needs to create that interest and, what do you call it, curiosity, that you need to make it something. Even animal, right? Everyone is talking about it. I also want to watch and talk about it. It's not, I don't want to be out of the, I don't care. Everyone cares. We all are, beings, social beings, right? We want to talk with people. But if you don't have information to talk, then how will you talk about anything? So you need to gain that. So if anything becomes such hyped, right, and everyone's talking about it, you also want to, and that's the what I have cracked down. That's the way you promote like animal. They didn't even promote it, like the see again. It's not like, oh, that's the idea. Someone writes on, like, okay, I'll write a story, I'll get actor, and we'll do the promotion in a way that people get hyped. No, that's not how it works. The story should demand that, from, and the way you're making it, and you're putting it out. Like, remember the first, some just the audio was released, right, for animal. I think they started filming the announcement. This the logo was, animation was happening, and we just heard, I love you, papa, I'll do anything, I'll show the whole world, like something like just the audio of Ranbir Kapoor saying this. And that created waves, like, oh my god. And before that, the whole interview, Sandeep Reddy Vanga said, I'll show people what is violence. So his persona itself, led to that, and that led to the first pre-teaser that came out there. He's just killing people, and that people are like, what is this? This makes no sense, but it's so something I want to see. What's this? Curiosity, hype you're creating. Oh, there were videos. Oh, he's actually a video. He's all those people are critics, and he's killing them. Like, all these things came out, and then the teaser came, then the trailer came, and what is happening? Then Bobby Dale character just doing this, he's no dialogue. What is happening? Is he mute? Is he this? He's just, it's an imagination. Like, people are talking about it so much, and that led to the success it had.
that nobody really saw Oppenheimer and said, listen, the audience is watching this movie, so maybe they are going to be open to certain other things. They're not doing that. They're following a formula.
Yeah.
Or maybe
And
they're seeing it like a
also-
freak, like an exception.
Not really, because enough examples. It's not that there is not like a odd one which came out. There are enough examples. First of all, I don't believe we as a filmmaking fraternity have the capacity of that to make a film to grip even audience like in India.
Right.
Yeah, we have to accept that. That's again because we are living in a culture constantly trained to see such films and catering to that audience, and all the time we are programmed to think of the audience in the only that level.
Right. But there have been like movies like Rocketry or Mission Mangal, which have tried.
No. No, BR, I'm sorry. Even rocketry, for the sake of, yeah, it does. It's not a, the best film made. Like, technically, I'll not say it's flawless, but yeah, again, rocketry has that thrill element of, what happened to him, how he got caught, and everything, like the politics and, the espionage kind of angle in it. It's not really about that much of science there. And Mission Mangal, they just can, it was just made into, a soap opera kind of, like science was the least thing they cared about.
To
No, they might have the thought, but do they have the grip? I'm not making a comment on them. I haven't seen them. But I'm
Okay,
saying
nice.
to make a film like that is different from to manage to make it as effective. Eventually, film's effectiveness.
right.
I have to ask you, how many of you have seen Mission Mangal or Rocketry more than once? Are you surprised? Like maybe there are people who did, but I'll be surprised if you have. I don't even remember half the plot of Mission Mangal. Like I just saw it once, maybe in theater, and I never watched it again. Oppenheimer, okay, I've not watched it again. It's a long movie, but I want to. I've seen so many, video essays on Oppenheimer, why it worked, all of that. Like I've consumed not the whole film maybe, but I've consumed in different ways. I've listened to hour-long podcasts and reviews and discussions about the film. Because there's so much to talk about. That's not same with these two films.
There could be 100 Oppenheimer kind of films in all. They all don't work, no? But eventually, you're always taking a benchmark as what really worked.
Right.
What really worked will become the benchmark, and in you're trying to reach that is where the whole progress of any kind of a industry is.
Right. What if I argue that Oppenheimer is also a kind of a star film because throughout the world, Christopher Nolan is one of the few remaining star directors today where, like you just said, he can put a Cillian Murphy in a Dunkirk, whatever it is, that he doesn't need stars. He's the star. So to see that
But
movie,
I will tell you that. Let's take me.
I love that. It's like putting an argument. Like it's not an interview with asking, "What do you think about this? What do you think about that?" Rapid fire. No. They're literally debating. They're discussing. They are trying to break the thing down. I love it.
Okay, Shiva was made by whom? Not Ram Gopal Varma. It was made by an unknown guy
right,
who became Ram Gopal Varma after the film was liked.
right,
Yeah,
Okay, like Christopher Nolan became Christopher Nolan
because it's films.
because of the films he made.
right,
Having said that, I believe if Oppenheimer was made by an unknown director, it was still done the same, and he would also become a director as big as Christopher Nolan because that is the effect of the film. Like if Jurassic Park came out, Steven Spielberg directed. But there are so many films unknown directors make, and I don't know a single director of the Fast and Furious series, for example. They do 200,
That's true.
300 crores, in India. I don't know probably more than 4 or 5 directors' names actually.
right.
But I watched so many films. I'm talking about blockbusters and $200, $300 million films.
Right.
We don't know the directors.
Right. Now, speaking
true.
of
So the point is, eventually, when I remember when Peter, Lord of the Rings director.
Peter Jackson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now see, when Spielberg's big, what is it?
BFG.
BFG. Spielberg's BFG and Jungle Book came on almost around the same time. Now, BFG didn't work with all the big production values. Steven Spielberg, the greatest director, and some unknown directors named did some 400 crores in India.
Right.
So the audience have never ever really went after. I think directors' names are just for the purpose of stars like him. I do not believe the directors make any difference.
I don't think Dunkirk got that much love. Even it was okay movie. Not like it was bad, but like, yeah, okay, I see what you're trying there, and the themes you're exploring and everything. But I didn't watch it more than once, you know. But Oppenheimer, the concept, what he's telling, the way he's telling, all of that, like it's not his face. The actor's making a film. Nolan's making a film tomorrow. It's in the theaters. You don't know anything about it. I don't think the same number of people will go to watch it because he's making Oppenheimer, because the visuals we are seeing, the way it's marketed, the way it's presented to the audience, he creates with his stardom, right? As a director, he creates an event out of his film, and and we see that event happening with the visuals and the story and the actors he has, what the story is gonna tell us. I think that's the selling point, not just because it's a Nolan film, you know. I don't think people just go, oh, Nolan film tomorrow in the theaters. I don't think same number will go there.
To the audience.
They don't.
The name of the director. No.
Okay.
Stars just because of a familiarity. One, the face value, and second is probably the impression they created in the past film or whatever.
Credibility.
But I think Hollywood it's almost destroyed. that whole aspect of the hero
Right.
something. Yeah. If you look at Oppenheimer, all the actors, I didn't even recognize them.
Right.
So here we will make a big thing out of that. You know, they were taken for their acting capacity rather than trying to showcase where the subject matter itself becomes a big thing. The man behind the bomb becomes a bigger draw to watch the film.
Right. To take an older example, basically what you're saying is when people saw Sagara Sangamam, it made no difference that the same director had made Shankaraparanam, which was a hit.
Yeah.
They just saw Sagara Sangamam as a Kamal Haasan movie.
Yes. When you know the person, you will talk about him. See, like, why were people talking about me when Raghavendra Rao, Dasan and Rao, all of them were? That is impact of the film.
Right.
I suddenly looked like,
I have no idea about this film.
so effective or whatever they saw. So let's say the next year another film in a similar genre comes, which is far better than me. They will talk about him also, like the way they talked about me. So it is a film which is making. It is not the man. So now just because now Steven Spielberg makes Jurassic Park, I go to see. When he makes BFG, I didn't go to see. Francis Coppola, I think Godfather is the greatest film ever made, in my opinion. And he made 40 films. I don't know 35 of them. So when people say who's a great director, I say there's no such thing as a good director. They're well-directed films. I don't know if Francis Coppola is a good
interesting.
director, but he did a fantastic job in directing Godfather. Ram Gopal Varma did a very good job in Shiva Satya, maybe not in some other films. So then you can't call someone a good director just on the basis of his directing ability, just by that. Yeah.
Right. We were just having a like off the camera discussion before this, and we were saying that on a good day, a film that flopped could have actually become a hit. Thugs of Hindustan had it, whatever reason.
Yeah. And it becomes.
Yeah,
it's
it
not
could have
that
become a hit.
It becomes many times.
Yeah.
But eventually, again, a bad film is a very individual perception. Now, what people liked, you can never know. You can't outguess the so-called masses
Because it
and the audience.
had all the elements of a formula.
Yeah,
film.
it can.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is what they thought. All the think tanks associated from Amir Khan to Aditya Chopra to all these big guys, they're the one of the top filmmakers of the country, and they together thought it will work. Which means it could have worked also.
Right.
You know?
But that same Amir Khan.
I never saw that film, so I don't know what went wrong. But what I've heard is that it's just too slow, like not interesting enough, I guess. The premise looked interesting, but I remember before the release of the film, they were showing behind the scenes. We destroyed a whole ship and this and that. Like, if you're trying to sell your film basis on that, something is wrong.
who reads the audience pulse usually so well, sometimes fails in the case of a Lal Singh Chaddha, for instance. But that movie was a little unnerving for me because it just came and nobody just seemed very interested in it.
Yeah.
What do you think? Like,
that is it. Actually, it's like
I'm not talking only about that film, but that I'm just using it as an example.
See, because when a person is taking a decision, like Amir loves Forrest Gump.
Right.
He's been talking about that even in Rangila time. So there's like a dream project he wanted, and he's making it in the head. Now it could have come out or not, I don't know. But the point is, by the time you reach the end, he is catering to the audience who never seen Forrest Gump, maybe one. And I don't think the question is about whether it's Forrest Gump remake. It is Amir Khan film. It doesn't need to have some history behind it.
Yeah. Some people could just go see it like that. Yeah.
So what Amir took from Forrest Gump as a subject matter might not have interested the audience.
Right.
All this is again speculation. I'm just saying might not.
No, this whole thing is speculation.
Yeah, correct.
But when you see, for instance, today, 3-part Ramayana being made, there is I think there's a Karna being discussed. There is, all these mythological films are being made on a mega scale. What makes me very curious is these are all stories that everybody knows by heart and kind of have seen many times on TV and this and that.
Yeah.
So,
But I would say we have not seen them being realized on the big screen in the big scale, grand scale, and with these big actors, which kind of cements it for a generation. Like for the older generation, like the Mahabharata and the Ramayana that used to come on TV. Like there's a generation that grew up watching it on their TV. So that's ingrained in their mind. I think we over the past years, maybe a lot of my maybe generation, born in 90s 2000s, for them maybe the anime Ramayana, the Legend of Prince Ram, that was always that was the first thing that came when you talked about Ramayana. For me, I even read there was a big comic book format of Ramayana. That's how I remember Mahabharat, the Star Plus TV show that was there. For me, that's a reference point of Mahabharat. But we never like, I think what Kalki showed us, right? Like those moments, if portrayed well on the big screen, they can give you goosebumps. And if it's not done well, we also thought that with Adi Purush. So I think those stories are just eternal, and the way they're depicted with, we have the VFX, we have the budget, we have technology on our side now to portray them at the scale we imagine them as in our head. So I think that has not happened. I think if we had every 10 years he had got Ramayana films and Mahabharat films on big screen, maybe it would have been like, yeah, we have seen many times, why are you doing it again? But we haven't gotten there yet, on the big screen. So I think that's why the excitement is there.
Of a Ramayana, for example, I'm curious to see what they're going to do, but I know the whole story and kind of a thing. Why do you think this is still a viable proposition?
On a personal level, I completely agree with you. I feel to make films on very well-known mythological stories, I think it's a very dangerous thing for two reasons. One is, like you said, uh, I mean, the story already I told, I know more or less, no. But when you try to make it different, it can have a reverse effect because
And I don't think we could do that in our country either, because
because they'll have a problem with you changing it, because what they revere, they worship or whatever they think. In both ways, I think it's very dangerous. Whereas if you look at Lord of the Rings, I don't know. It is an interpretation. It is a fictional story or whatever. Hollywood makes it all the time. So I think it could have worked at a certain time in the past, like when Bapu made Sampurna Ramayanam and all this mythological used to come of N.T. Ramarao and all that. But today, because they reached a status of reverence, it is maybe they were more closer to it at that time, or there's not so much of polarization, there's not so much of social media constantly challenging the people's interpretation. Like if you look at Adipurish, I feel the amount of
You talked about
negativity it developed because of Saif Ali Khan's look, or some why will Hanuman look like this, why will somebody look like that, and all that on a constant opinionated. It is very dangerous to take anything from that shelf, I believe. But of course, those makers, they're putting their effort and all that. I wish them all the best. And yeah.
So there was one producer told me that it actually makes great sense because you're not talking to the people who know the Ramayana, but here and in the diaspora, there are a huge number of people, like kids and so on and so forth, who don't grow up with grandparents like we did. So they're not fully into.
But that is my point. Then you're agreeing that you're catering to the people as a fictional story because they don't know. If I don't know Ramayana, it's a fictional story for me.
Which could work, right?
So my point is, then why not make a new story? We don't call it Ramayana, no? See, if Adipurish is a Prabhas film, I look at it different. But if I'm told it's Ramayana, I look at it differently. So the kids might outnumber. I don't know about that. Then, but as long as it's a fictional story. So
I think it's. So he's trying to say maybe don't make Ramayana, but tell a similar story with the fictional characters and fictional narrative instead of telling Ramayana. But because it's giving the same message and the same narrative in a sense. But like if, like I've said, in Rajamouli's films, uh, the first Bahubali is all mix of Ramayana at places and Mahabharata typical. It's like very watered down version of Mahabharata. It's in a similar sense. Then RRR has so many Ramayana references and so many places like that. But it's taking inspirations and parallels, but it's not Ramayana actually. So I don't know how that will work.
I touch that, and why not just make a completely new thing where you don't have the headache of fighting this whole onslaught of negativism.
Right, actually.
And one is that. Second is, The complexity of the stories which later on came in fictional, as a story, they're far superior to the so-called mythological stories. They're very simplistic mythological stories, no? In terms of the things what you can develop, all the universes which we are talking about, in terms of, Marvel universe and all that. The complexity of those characters and the newness of the action is so much more for you. Whereas when you take a mythological film, you more or less get bound to how much you can change it.
How much you can
How much you can change it.
change it?
You
Yeah,
can't really change it so much.
you can't, because see,
Yeah.
on
So, and if you're going to change it beyond recognition, then you might make a new story only, na?
Right.
Then don't call it that.
right. See, for
This is interesting because that's true that if you're making Ramayana, can you really get into the psyche of Lord Ram, what he thinks, and break down his character, and we show a do we see an arc? Because we don't see, he's considered to be the perfect human, right? Like, how do you show arc there? And when you watch a Marvel film, Marvel universe, you see Tony Stark is a flawed human, and you see his whole arc, and that when he sacrifices himself, you know, it it hits, because it's a catharsis in a sense. The whole circle, has come, that he was selfish guy and in the start, and over all the long journey he has become selfless. He's willing to sacrifice himself for the whole world or whole universe. I think that that complexity of narratives you will not get in, maybe they are there if you tell that story well, but maybe in the main character you cannot. But if you try to do these things and people will not like it, how can you show it like that? And they'll uh, get they'll object all of it. So it's a struggle there. So I understand his point.
example, on stage, you see interpretations like the Mahabharata is seen from Draupadi's point of view,
Yeah.
and so on and so forth, in which it becomes a feminist story. I don't think that can be done on screen, though, because you're kind
can't.
of
No, no
we
way.
can't do those things on screen,
Yeah.
because there's a certain thing that happens. To extend that thing we're talking about, when Maniratnam remade a part of the Mahabharata as Talapati, and he did not say it was the story of Arjuna, Karna, Mahabharata,
Yeah,
whatever it is.
Yeah.
It got a certain kind of reception.
I've seen it.
But when he made Ravan and called it Ravan or Ravanan, and made it very explicit that it was
Yeah.
taken from there, that got a different kind of reception. What do you see as the difference between these two? Because both are mythological based, but in one the source is acknowledged, and in one the source is not acknowledged.
I mean, see, when you want to look at it that way, every story will have some part of Ramayana or some part of.
That is our
That's
thing.
And you also have, see, why was Godfather liked by the entire world? I never heard of the word mafia. I don't know criminal organizations. I think you connected to the characters, you see semblance of them in where you are,
Right.
in your family, in your neighbor's family, or someone you know, someone you heard of. I think that is what the connectivity, which is the reason why Ramayana and Mahabharata also. There is like the stepmother taking of the son and trying to rob the property. All this is always there.
Right.
You're just making characters like and blah blah blah. Okay. So in that context, then I look at Ravan. I'm not talking about Mani's films in particular. That's Dalpati. Now Dalpati happens all the time.
Yeah.
It'll happen in Bombay. It'll happen in your village. It'll happen everywhere. You are just connecting because that stereotypical characters you can take from society and make a mythological story or a very modern story set in contemporary times or here and there. I think that's about it.
Right.
So this is only for the media to talk about. If you're calling it Ravan and if you say there is Ram, Ravan, Sita, you're giving them things to her. If you never mention, if the film is not called Ravan, if you never mention the word Ramayan, people would have just seen it as a film. For whatever it's worth.
But I'm saying, was there also a slight bit of thing, because is there a thing in showing Ram as a kind of villain and Ravan as a kind of a misunderstood? That also does it disturb people? Is what?
No, but that is what I'm saying. So you either can make a good and evil film, or you can treat them grey.
Right.
You're also giving the perspective of the other person.
Right.
In the context of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Where do you see Indian cinema going in, like, say, 10 years from now?
I don't know where it's going in the next 6 months. Forget about 10 years. Because all it takes is a few unexpected films coming rapidly, one after the other, and it will change the entire thing.
Right.
Yeah. Now there was a time when we used to know Malayalam cinema as sex films.
Right.
Back in Vijayawada when I was in engineering, we only used to watch Malayalam films because they had more sex than any other film industry. Now here we're talking today. Now the best films are coming from Malayalam in every which way. Okay, so I think, and it is not as if even they were not there even at that time. Probably at that time the distributor for whatever reasons were bringing it here. So there's so many factors which influence it, not just about what films are doing where and how. So the bottom line is, one is the technical advancement. Second, if Bahubali did not come, we would have not had so many big ticket films coming out,
that's
which
true.
is a fact. Okay, how many of them work for the individuals who are financially related? Could be the buyers, could be the producer. That is a separate matter.
Right.
And then you suddenly see a Tarak becoming a national or international star, a Ram Charan, because of Triple R, Prabhas. And from coming from a small state, one of the states of India, you can reach there almost bigger than Bollywood stars. That is not, and that is aspirational. Everyone will want to be there. And everyone wants to be there. Somebody might reach here, somebody might here, somebody might there. So I think the whole thing becomes like a world. The world is no longer about the country, state, and language. Anything can go anywhere if the time is right.
Right.
Then just it's a question of your capacity to make a film like that, to make it, to release it, and to because anyone can make, but to be in the ocean and to get noticed is the big problem.
Right.
So more films will be made of all kinds. But the biggest problem will be to find the viewer because of the numbers.
Of the
Which film is going to catch your attention?
Right.
That is anybody's guess. But again, like I said, a movie like Kerala Story being such a big hit and Bastar not having takers, so the worst situation the best can be Kerala Story, the worst can be Bastar.
Right.
And
Okay.
the playing field is between the two.
Right.
Yeah.
But there are also certain.
And I think films will become very, very expressionist. See, one is in expressionist.
This I agree with him because that's what's happening in Hollywood also, right? Like the biggest films. Okay, now you may say Deadpool, but even that I would say it's very expressionist in a sense. But people like Barbie or Oppenheimer, or even Everything Everywhere All at Once, even winning an Oscar, people want such weird or something different, something unique. They don't want the same thing. I think that's what Marvel also started having, like the same hero villain thing, and at the end his hero win. Like they're tired of it. I think that's why in a sense Deadpool has that element, but it's doing a lot many things which a lot of people are enjoying. It has all the baggage it's carrying of the Fox universe, and what's trying to do with those characters, kind of paying a homage to it. But even a Dune 2, right? It's so different. Space war, but in a dystopian futuristic world, but it's a different planet, and the resources and the themes it's talking about, and it's so dramatic and different and unique, and even the visual style is so unique. You don't see anything like that. So people want unique things, people want different things. There was a time people just wanted similar things. Oh, I love like an action hero movie, yeah, I want that, give me that, that's it. Then again, if fun comes, yeah, I'll enjoy that. But now they're like, no, I'm tired of, I want new different things. And I think everywhere it's happening that we are tired, because just I think today we are so much consumed by media, that I think the TikTok, they say we have attention span has gone down, or TikTok for us, but Insta Reel or Shorts, that we are totally hitting ourselves constantly with that dopamine rush of experiencing something new. So now if you have seen something which you have it's everywhere, and just you're seeing it on, you're paying money for and watching, like, what's in this, I don't know why I'm wasting my money on this. I've seen this, it's not giving me dopamine rush anyway anymore, because I've seen this, witnessed it so many times. I want something new, different, and that's what's working today. And I think it's a great time to really have a unique voice and tell a story the way you want.
In terms of this, the corporate culture, the good part of that is they got in more discipline. They've got in budgetary control because they work on first ready concept,
I'm not sure.
bound scripts and contracts and all that. So they churn out on a regular level, just like products, which is both good and bad, because a group of people come together and make decisions based on their positions and all that. Sometimes a director might not have his creative, but just because you're giving the creativity, that doesn't mean creativity will work.
Right.
But now I think the corporate aspect also, they'll have to redefine and they have to correct it. But eventually corporates will do. There's no doubt about it. But they will change their thing because the creative call, how does one, arrive upon that is a big thing. I have this interesting example. Ridley Scott, when he's done this film, okay, and he wanted to change something in the climax, which is in the script, while shooting. So he called for a meeting of all the principal actors, principal crew members, and the board of directors of the studio, executives at the studio. And he told all of them, I am planning to change this because of this reason. And when someone asked him, at your age, you are one of the best, great top directors of the world, he said, you see, we all came together on the basis of a common belief in the script. Now, I can't take one independent decision. You know?
Wow.
So I wanted to tell all of them my reason for why I want to change it and convince them. Now imagine this in the reverse. If they all together want Ridley Scott to do something which he is not convinced about. So on a creative level, how many people get together and whose ego and whose what, these factors will be there. That I think is going to reduce because it is not possible for you to concentrate on that aspect of so many heads coming together and concentrate on that. Then what happens is the man in the position is going to take a decision, not necessarily that he really knows what is happening. I feel as it develops, that kind of will come down anyway. Now when I say expressionist cinema, communicating cinema is about you're trying to say, I want these many, all the people who saw animals should see my film. Is different. Different from saying, I want to make a film like this, I will make it in this cost, what is required for this, and then I will cast this actor who's right for that role. If you are sticking to that and you're making it exactly the way you think it should be made, that will drastically cut the cost and the time and everything down. And if it's good enough, it will still find its takers.
Right.
So
But
if you
that's the
make
catch, good enough. That's the catch.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. But that is something you are going with you're not going with your eyes closed.
Yeah.
You're going with your eyes open, and which is what the whole point of freedom of expression is about.
Right.
Yeah.
If the corporates are going to do this, what happens to the individual producers?
See, individual producers have gone. See, they're
But we
only in
still
the
have a
south.
Dil Raju, we still
They're
have-
only in the south. If Bombay, I don't know any independent producer anymore. See, when the companies are acquiring, there are producers. Hollywood, though, is gone. Hollywood, last I heard of a producer's name is probably, I can't even remember their names now, you know. Hollywood, no independent producers. Then independent producers in Bombay, they usually already make a pre-deal with one of the corporates or the promise of that, or they get an investor in the hope of getting a corporate guy at the end of the day. You know, in Telugu, I don't know much about.
He has a lot of knowledge about how the industry works. Huh? Like people say, oh, he has taken retired or it doesn't come mainstream and all of that, but he has all the knowledge. The way he's talking about Amir Khan, it felt like he constantly talks with him, you know. So he very knowledgeable person.
Tamil and all that. In Telugu industry, still independent producers work because it runs on egos even now.
Okay.
It runs
Okay,
on heroes'
interesting.
egos. They don't like the corporate discipline in terms of
The heroes
that.
don't like.
The heroes don't like.
Okay.
Oh,
Because see,
okay.
corporates are employees. They don't cater to the whims and fancies. They cater to agreements. Like to give
Very well put, huh? Very well
an
put.
example, one particular hero, a corporate company from Bombay came and did a film with a big star in Telugu. Okay. Now the film, or maybe at some point of time, it came into deficit. You know, the theaters. The corporate company wanted to remove it. Now the star's fans, they felt it is an insult if it doesn't at least continue for this long a time. Something. So the hero, he called the corporate company head and said, okay, now I will use my own money, but you have to run it till this point of time or something. Okay.
Okay.
He said, as long as he is spending the money, what do they lose?
Yeah.
So he said, okay. And then this was somewhere not communicated to the distributor. Okay.
Okay.
So the distributor stopped putting their ads in the newspaper. It's playing in this theater and something, because that is an extra cost, because he's not being given that because it came on deficit.
Yeah.
So that's the rule he's following. So in actuality, the film is running and there's no ad, and that is a very small money, but that's just a corporate policy. So this kind of thing completely turned off the heroes, you know.
Okay.
So whatever happens
I wonder who he's talking about. Let me in the comments if you know who he's talking about.
now the corporates are not producing anymore, they're acquiring.
Yeah.
Once they acquire, now the release and the thing is nothing to do with these people. That anyway will bound to come.
Yeah.
Because right now what's happening, the producers, because of the massive over budgets, they are crying at the end of the day, and they will have to cover it only by selling it for as huge prices. Then the buyers will cry. All these individual emotions are happening, to my knowledge, only in the Telugu film industry. I never saw that happening in Bombay.
Okay.
Buyers coming and doing dharna outside the producer's name, producer's house, and this. In Hollywood, it never existed.
Yeah.
But anything which is very structured will take long time for us to trickle down. Eventually, it will, you know. And I think, I mean, it might not be practically applicable to all, but I think it still there'll be trouble in bits and phases, but it will be going for the better.
Right.
Yeah.
You're making a movie about racing now.
Yeah.
Explain to me how, of course, like you said, everybody goes out with the best intention and all that kind of stuff. But in your vision, in today's environment, how is this a viable venture?
See, first of all, there's no film which is a viable venture. If you go it at it
Right,
like
but you're going in with the belief. You're not saying I want it to flop, right?
Every filmmaker, whatever he does, will go with the belief.
Right.
We're making 150 films in each language per year. Everyone will have that belief.
Yeah.
Okay. Out of which whatever works or not is a beginning thing. I would like to look at it like this is first of all not a racing film. It is a search and rescue operation of some off-roaders.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I saw the lot of
it
the
is not
racing imagery.
Yeah, it is not racing. Yeah. Anyway, I thought the uniqueness of it is to see off-roading vehicles going into a forest on certain search and rescue mission, because they look like animals themselves, and the drivers are fantastic in the way they drive those vehicles. So that as an imagery, that caught my attention.
Right.
It will be a very new kind of an imagery, because I don't remember seeing anything like that, you know. So likewise, any film I make for that matter, either something in the subject matter or a character or probably a story which I have not seen before, which I am presuming it will interest the audience, will be some factors which will influence in me in making any film, which is the true for every filmmaker.
Yeah. So it's the same whether it's you or anybody else.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much for your time as always, because like you say, it's very right that these are conversations that are interesting, but at the end of the day, we can only guess. It's a lot of guesswork and
Not guessing, we know nothing, I'll tell you.
yeah.
And the more experience you'll have, the less you know. Right. Because, why? Because
That's interesting because the more experience you have, like, okay, you have given one or two hits, you think, oh, you understand what works, what doesn't. But when you have spent so much time in the industry, you have seen hits and flops, and you know that actually there's no answer. There's no way of knowing what will work, what will not.
you've seen so many examples of it, the more experience you have, and what you think and what works has no connection.
Yeah, because I remember you telling me long back, I think maybe the 2008 or something like that, the first time I had an interview with you in Satyam Theatre, I don't know if you remember.
Yes, yeah.
So you told me one thing, that a director knows what he's doing only until he goes into production. Once shooting starts, the day-to-day things become so...
I mean, I would like to make it more clear. See, like Alfred Hitchcock said, I made the film. I finished the film. I just had to shoot it.
Yeah.
Which means he saw a vision in his mind, which is what is a finished film. He could see it in his eyes. But translating that to a audio, video, images, they're coming in a sequence, and what happens, it's impossible for any filmmaker to know whether there's any connection with what he thought and what turned out to be.
True.
Right.
Because like they say, the wife is the last to know. Because a film happens, a series of decisions you take over a long period of time, and each of these decisions are influenced by factors completely separate from each other.
Right.
To match that to the man coming into the theater's mindset is an impossible task.
Yeah.
Which is the reason I would like to believe that any filmmaker, like I said, when recently we had a 25th year interview Anupama Chopra did with me, Manoj, and all for Satya.
Yeah.
And she said, you guys made Satya. I said, Satya made us. We didn't make Satya. Because if we can make Satya, we should do it again and again. No?
Yeah.
You know? I think a film is like a kid you give birth to, and when it grows up to an adult, you have nothing to do with it. Okay, because the adult is being perceived by others, namely the audience, namely various concerned people. So the person who's given it birth to will know about it the least. This is the only thing I know. I can say for sure. Everything else I know nothing.
On that note, thank you so much.
All right, what a fun conversation. It's called conversation, I just realized, and so much knowledge and insights into the industry and how it works and everything. I think this is I enjoy all this, to see how things work, how how we talked about the market, how the market dictates, how the actor dictates, and the corporate structure, how it works compared to Hollywood, and what will happen in the future, and at the end, the thing is, we can sit here, talk about so many things, but at the end of the day, it's actually no one knows what's going to work, what's not going to work. No one can tell watching, film, this will be 100 crore film. No one can tell, there's no way of saying it. So at the end of the day, what is in our control is telling a story we want to tell. It mean, as you said, in your mind, you think you're making a great story, but the way you translate that into making the film and the final product, it may not match at the end, or it may match. But if it may not match and it will still work, and if it matches exactly, it may still not work. So there's no way of telling, because it's so independent of what the film you make, right? You cannot dictate how people will react to it. You can try your best, but you cannot make it work for every audience. Every audience will look at with their own mind, so you can only make the film with your one mind. And I think history has told us, when you do that, when you do it, if it works, if it clicks with the audience, if you have done a great job, it will work. You're using, I say, a lot, right? I have realized in the editing also, I'll try not to say again. you know so you can just do what it's in your hand, ah you can just do what's in your hand, make the film the way you want to, and then let's see how the audience reacts to it. you know let me know your thought in the comments below, and you guys have this video next, and I will see you next time.